One day a woman came to my office looking to rent an apartment. She'd been renting a mobile home just outside of town. She proceeded to tell me the story about why she was looking. The previous week, she'd seen two people on the property that she'd never seen before. They were approaching her mobile home. She was shocked to learn that they were the property manager and the property owner. Neither the property manager or the owner knew she'd been living there. Her mobile home had been on a list of units to remodel, and they were just now getting to it. It turns out the maintenance person had dressed up, met her at the property, gave her a tour and an application. Once she decided to rent, he collected the application fee, security deposit, and all the rent she paid for the past 4 months. We're talking rental fraud and scams today. This is Renter Confidential. At least in this woman's case, she was able to identify the person who defrauded her. But more often than not, rental fraud and scams happen online, and you never really know who the perpetrators are. They just evaporate into thin air. Another scam situation in Jacksonville, Florida was covered in the article, Home Rental Scams Are Popping Up Again. A realtor listed his client's property for rent, only to discover later that someone else had copied the listing. The fake ad showed the rent as $700 per month, when in fact it was $1,400. The police were no help in tracking down the offender, who collected $50 application fees from unsuspecting applicants. Those applicants were never meant to actually see an apartment, just like in the Broadway show The Producers, where the investors were never supposed to see a successful theater production. But unlike those investors, these applicants don't even know who they sent their money to. This happens more often than you think. In fact, according to ApartmentList.com, an estimated 43% of all renters suspect they've seen fraudulent rental ads, and over 5.2 million have actually lost money to rental scams. And over a third of those have lost over $1,000, usually in rent and security deposits. While online listings have made searching for property easier, they've also made it easier for fraudsters as well. These scams typically take the form of copying an authentic listing and altering the details to direct you to the fraudster instead of the person who created the listing in the first place. However, sometimes they just invent a total fictitious property for their fake ad. These fake ads may show rent far below market rate to attract attention. And as you can see from the earlier stats, these fake ads have been pretty effective. Now, honestly, it's hard enough to do all the research to find your ideal property. Pull together the money to move is already a Herculean task. To go through all of that only to learn it was a scam is enough to make anyone scream. But even beyond the money, you may have given the scammer sensitive personal information, believing you were dealing with a legitimate landlord. And to add insult to injury, if the money taken by the scammer is ever recovered, it won't be in time to help you get the apartment that you still need. That's why you were looking in the first place. But there are some straightforward ways to protect yourself from these rental fakes. First, carefully examine the ad itself. Second, examine the quality of your interactions with the contact from the ad. Third, you'll actually visit the property before even applying. And lastly, what does your gut tell you? Let's start with the listing itself. Does the listing look professional? Or is it incomplete and missing details? Most scammers are lazy, so it's unlikely that they'll do the work to get all the accurate info. Continuing on that note, are there pictures in the listing? Are the pictures of high quality? It takes time to gather pictures, and again, scammers are lazy. Some scammers will get some pictures. Where do they get the pictures from? They may pull the pictures from other legitimate listings. There are many free online services where you can do a reverse picture search. This will reveal if anyone else is using the same pictures. If the contact info doesn't match up on the different listings, you will then find that someone is lying. If the market rent in the area is $2,100 per month, but the listing is only asking for $1,200, then it might be a scam. Be sure you're comparing apples to apples. That price difference could be perfectly reasonable if the $2,100 property has more bedrooms or is in a higher end part of town as compared to the $1,200 property. So next up, what happened when you reached out to the contacts shown on the listing? Property managers and landlords are usually intimately familiar with their properties. After all, they depend on these specific properties for their livelihoods. If they can't answer simple questions about the area, the listing might be a scam. Did they pressure you to pay any money up front just to see the property? Did they pressure you to pay the security deposit and rent quickly? Be cautious of an owner or manager pressuring you to make a payment quickly or immediately. Scammers often use fear tactics and create a sense of urgency to make you act fast without thinking twice. These are also signs that the listing may be a scam. At this point, we're going to take a quick break here for our sponsor, Rental Secrets. This book has helped people save hundreds on their rent, and the link is in the show notes. Here's the trailer for this powerful book. America is in the grip of a housing crisis. There's evidence of it in nearly every city. 50% of U.S. households are having difficulty paying rent. And prices? Well, prices are on the rise. Frustration has set in for those trying to make ends meet, and searching for a new place can be a daunting task. It can seem overwhelming. People believe that landlords have all the power. After all, they have what you need. But it isn't true. Yes, you heard correctly. It is not true. You have more power than you think. Inside the new book, Rental Secrets, you'll learn how to reduce your rent. Just imagine having a lower rent payment. Get better value for your money. Paying rent is a struggle. Shouldn't you get more out of each payment? How to negotiate with the right people. Who has the real power to negotiate? Take control of rent renewal conversations. After all, it's your money. And even how to get free rent. Yes, it is absolutely true. Free rent is real, and you can get it. All this and so much more is in Rental Secrets. Get your copy today at Amazon.com. And we're back. So what payment methods did they offer? Pushing an applicant to use cash, gift cards, or to wire money is definitely a red flag. So is directing you to send money to a foreign bank account. Cash and money wires are difficult to recover should the transaction not go as planned. Not only are gift cards difficult to recover, but no reputable landlord or property manager would ever accept payment in gift cards. Lastly, what rules apply in fraud cases involving money wired to Peru? I have absolutely no idea, and likely neither do you. But I do know that recovering funds sent internationally will be harder to recover than funds within the U.S. Ask them about their application process. Are they planning to take the time to do a background check or a credit check? Are they willing to verify and prove to you that they've done such a check? Background checks and credit checks are standard procedure for legitimate landlords. But for scammers, the point is for money to come in, not to get it spent on background checks and credit checks, which are useless to them. They aren't actually renting anything, so they don't care about your credit score or if you're a criminal or not. So skipping the credit and background checks is a big red flag because legitimate landlords would never do that. Once you're comfortable with the ad and your conversations with the landlord, the next step is the property visit. If you pull up and the property doesn't look like the picture in the listing, run quickly. In addition, while you're there, talk to the neighbors about the property and who manages it. Check to see if the neighbor's story matches the landlord's. If not, there may be funny business afoot. If you're unable to personally visit the property, have a friend do it. If that's not an option, then hire someone from a freelance service company to go in your place. Have them take pictures and ask the questions of the contact and the neighbors that you'd like answers to. The last check is to listen to your own gut. As I discussed in a previous episode, you are placing a significant amount of trust in the landlord you ultimately chose to rent from. It's important to ask yourself if they are actually worthy of that trust, or do you feel the need to take a shower after shaking their hand? If you don't feel like you can trust them, go back and look for any red flags in the listings that back up that feeling. So here are some basic strategies to avoid rental property scams. Strategy number 1. Every listing should look professional. Include high quality pictures, all the relevant information, and the rent should be close to market rate. If any of these are missing, then that's a red flag. Strategy number 2. Always, without fail, visit the property you are considering. It's easy to find some pictures to put in a listing, but it's much harder to get a key to a property, give tours, and make those pictures match the property they have to show. All of this takes work, and scammers hate work. Strategy number 3. Never pay for anything in advance. The rental process has a specific order. You should never be required to pay in order to tour a property. Once you've gotten your questions answered and you've toured the property, only then would you complete an application and pay an application fee. Once they have reviewed your application and shown you proof that they actually did a background and credit check, only then would you move forward and get a copy of their lease. No more money should change hands until you read, understand, and sign the lease. Lastly, protect your personal information. Scammers often ask for sensitive information such as your social security number, bank account details, or credit card information. No landlord or manager should ask for this information before signing a lease or completing an application. So here's the takeaway. Examine the rental listing for poor quality, errors, or omissions. Examine the rental process as presented by the contact. Avoid paying in cash, gift cards, or money wires. Never send money to accounts in foreign countries. Lastly, never exchange any money before visiting the property, getting proof that they did background and credit checks, and checking with the neighbors to confirm the story that you're getting. Thanks for watching Renter Confidential. Happy apartment hunting. When it comes to renting, insider information is the best roommate you can ever have.